Good morning, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. Happy Monday. Hope everyone had a restful and energizing weekend. We're back at it for another week, all of us. And here at the YW, we're back at another wonderful week of YWTV with some great conversations in store with you, starting with today. We know that spring is popping through, maybe some days a little colder than others, but nonetheless, we are the light at the end of the tunnel is here. We are coming, to the nicer weather for sure. And staying fit and staying healthy is definitely a priority for all of us, especially now. Exercising and eating right is definitely part of keeping our physical and mental well-being intact, especially for our kids. And we know that good nutrition is really important, especially during childhood, because that is a time when, the body is rapidly growing, development is happening, and, activity is definitely part of that process for sure. But, general eating habits and patterns, are really important, what we're establishing now with our young ones, so that these first early years of life definitely establish some of the guidelines for our children to be able to grow up healthy and strong and having a good relationship and understanding about food and development for sure. Now, some of us have picky eaters at home, and that sometimes can be challenging too, because you find yourself just doing the same thing over and over again just to appease them. But this morning, I'm so happy that we have an expert to talk with us about some of these challenges, because I know I'm faced with them as well. So we'd like to welcome Allison Jackson for joining us today. And she is going to talk with us about how to positively deal with challenging eaters and finicky family members, because it's not only the kids sometimes, so that everybody is eating a balanced diet. Welcome, Allison. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Helen. I'm excited to talk about this topic with you.
Well, before we jump into it, and I'm eager to jump into it for sure, because as I said, I have some experience with this over in our house for sure. I want to tell our viewers a little bit about you. For those of you who are meeting Allison for the first time, she is the founder of Allison Jackson Fitness, and she loves to share her knowledge and expertise around health and fitness and eating to optimize your health. She has spent the last 8 years training and competing in figure competitions, even winning 3 pro cards in 1 year. So she has a crystal clear picture of what it takes to get fit and healthy for yourself and your families. You can learn more about her and her services by visiting her website or listening to her Fit to Lead podcast. And we'll be dropping the links for everything here so that you can follow her on social media at Allison Jackson Fitness, or again, going to her website at AllisonJacksonFitness.com, and definitely go add her podcast to your list of podcasts and start listening. So welcome, Allison. Can you, I'm just so excited to talk to you about this topic, but I want to start by hearing, how did you get into this space?
Right. So that's a great question. So I've always been a lifelong fitness enthusiast. I played field hockey in high school and college. I taught aerobics back when it was called aerobics, and Jane Fonda was all the rage, and Billy Thibault. I taught the kickboxing classes. Always loved trying different things, marathons, triathlons. But I always struggled with like that ideal body. I never felt really comfortable in my skin. I always battled my weight. And so one of the bucket list items I had was to compete in bodybuilding. So that's what figure competitions are. It's essentially bodybuilding meets beauty pageant. And I tried that back in 2012 for the first time, and I thought it would be a one and done type of thing. And I got hooked. And I was like, this is incredible. Like just the process to get stage ready, to compete. And it really, when I dialed in my diet and really understood what to eat, that is where like the magic happens. I always say to people, it's 90% diet, it's 10% workouts. Mm-hmm. And that competing proved it. So year after year, I lose between 15 to 20 pounds. And I've found like a healthy, sustainable way to do that. And I'm just thrilled to be able to share it. And along the way, I have 2 kids. So they've seen, this along the way and have a better understanding of food. But that's not to say that they're not picky eaters. So I've learned a lot around how to get them to eat certain things.
Well, there's a lot there, and my goodness, what a bucket list item to not only like check it off, but to be so successful at it also. So what did obviously it taught you a lot about eating for sure. What else did doing that kind of teach you about yourself too? Because I know that's a huge personal engagement in every aspect.
Yeah, for sure. So in my preteens and my teens, I struggled a lot with body image. I was one of those kids that I only went swimming if I wore a t-shirt. I didn't like anyone to kind of look at me. I wasn't proud of my body. So as I took this journey, now I have to get on stage with other women in a little sparkly bikini and literally be judged next to other people. So I have to say, it's really skyrocketed my confidence. It's really helped me have a better body image. There are a lot of women that do these competitions that struggle with eating disorders or body dysmorphia. And it does take a really strong mindset. That's another thing I've come to realize, that the mindset is so important around understanding what your body is capable of, understanding you're not a number. It's about how you feel and how you look to yourself, not so much to others.
Well, that's wonderful. And I'm sure that, that's probably not only with the eating part of it, but also that whole mind piece of it, sharing that with your children and through your business is huge for sure. So let's talk a little bit about our families. I know I'm a working mom, and I'm, always worried about, are my kids eating right? And, sometimes I remember, my mom always making these big elaborate meals every night, for us when I was growing up. And I don't always have time to do that. So what are some tips you have about meal prep and that stress around food, especially now that so many of us are home a lot throughout the day? I feel like, our refrigerators have like revolving doors on them and kids are always grabbing something. And I'm not always sure it's so healthy because I'm working and so I can't tell and monitor it.
Right. No, that's a great point. And I think that's one of the things that's kind of shocked everyone, right? Like now you're preparing every meal at home. It used to be just like dinner was the most stressful. And now it's like breakfast, lunch, snacks, dinner, everything. So it's interesting. I just did a training last week around meal prep. Because I feel like dinner is one of the most stressful meals. That's the meal everyone comes together. Typically, we're all trying to eat together and spend some quality time. So what I usually tell folks is to interview your family members, because you may be surprised to find out what they enjoy eating and what they do not enjoy eating. Because I know I stress about constantly doing new recipes and make sure it's healthy. And I interviewed my family and they were like, no, we're okay with like these like 7 to 10 meals and just rotate them. And here's me trying to like do all kinds of crazy different things. So I think a lot of times we don't even realize what our family members like and dislike. And that includes your spouses, like older kids. I mean, the younger kids, obviously, you're going to control a little bit of what they're eating. And then just planning ahead. So start with dinner. Just write down for the week, what are you going to have for dinner every night? Because that's going to help you with your shopping list. It's going to help you save money and it's going to alleviate that stress. And then you post it on the fridge so the whole house knows. This is the lineup. Don't come knocking on my door asking what's for dinner at noon. You're going to be able to see it. And depending on how old your kids are, getting them involved. Start making the salad. Start, chopping up what needs to be chopped up. So I think that's another critical point, is really getting the family involved and getting some skin in the game, right? You agreed to these foods, so you shouldn't be turning your nose up at them.
That's a great point. Allison. Really engaging your family in making the menu and hearing what it is they like and they don't like. That's and I love, we've had Chef Rama on, I don't know, a couple of episodes of YWTV, and she's so big on involving family in the cooking process as well. And I love that. So I love that you shared that as well, because it, especially now that we're all home, it's an opportunity to do everything from, give them a non-screen activity. And it is STEM based too for those, watching, right? It is considered a STEM activity, cooking, with all the measuring and mixing and the ingredients. But it also creates an opportunity for talk time, and also to be, really focused on the food and what's healthy and what's nutritious as, and helping set their mind there. So let's talk about that. How do we know what's healthy and nutritious, right? Because if you ask kids sometimes what their favorite foods are, they may come up with a list that you're like, not sure that that's something we should be eating, once a month, let alone weekly.
Yes. Yeah. So when I first interviewed my kids, they're like, oh, pizza, chicken nuggets, French fries. I'm like, those are not staples of your diet. Like, that's okay to have it in a rotation. But it is important, obviously, to get the fruits and vegetables in there. And it's funny, you talked about growing up. Growing up is the same with mine. My mom always made, it was a protein, and it wasn't called a carb, it was called a starch. A protein, a starch, and a vegetable. That was, you had to have those three in every meal. And to this day, I still try to do that. And we try to lean heavily towards the lean proteins and the vegetables. And having fruits as snacks, as dessert, as, also part of your diet. And I know a lot of kids struggle with not liking the taste of vegetables, not liking certain vegetables. And I think it's important to understand which vegetables do they like, and then just gradually introducing new ones, and introducing new ones to yourself too. So you're walking the walk and talking the talk, right? Like maybe you've never tried Brussels sprouts, and it's like, all right, the whole family's going to try it. And growing up in my house, we always had the taste it rule. You just have to taste it. If you don't like it, spit it out. But you just have to try it and say, okay, I don't like whatever it is, Brussels sprouts, peas, and that's okay. But you might come to discover a food that you unexpectedly do like.
Yes, that's so true. And I know in our house, one of the ways we, before we had our kids, we were part of a co-op, a fruit and vegetable co-op. That would, you didn't necessarily pick what you got. You just got a box of fruit and vegetables. And I have to say, it really expanded my experience because I would get things that I had never seen before. And, we ate a lot of vegetables growing up, but certain things like pomelos or, kohlrabi, things that maybe were different. And so I'd have to Google them and learn how to even open them, or, let alone cook them. So that's also, I think, another way, because it's exciting, when they come, that kids see what's in the box, and then you figure out ways to prepare it together too. But it's definitely a process to introduce them to new pieces. But those are some great ideas, Allison.
I love that.
So let me ask you this. What are some of your favorite go-to meals? Because I would agree. I would think if I interviewed my kids, pizza, chicken nuggets, tacos, these are all things that would be high on their list for sure.
Yes. And I think what's important is, hamburgers and French fries is on, that's one of the top things on my kids. Yeah. So you use a lean ground beef, and you make the hamburgers yourself. You grill everything. We grill the fries. We'll get frozen fries, and just grill everything with some vegetables as well, and keep it simple. So the things that I personally, my go-tos, frozen bag of shrimp, frozen bag of stir-fry vegetables, make some rice. If you're trying to watch your carbs personally, like as women, I know everyone's on like the low carb, riced cauliflower is a great way to get that vegetable in there. But it's a simple way to just like throw those things together. It doesn't have to, you don't have to be slaving over a stove. And in the wintertime, I swear by the crock pot or the Instant Pot, throwing in chicken breast with like a jar of salsa. You have shredded, you can make tacos. Mm-hmm. They have a taco bar. So it's just, they build, their own tacos. It's not, you don't have to worry about putting things together. I'm not a fan of cooking. So I like things that are simple, tasty. And like I said, that the whole family can kind of get involved in.
And I love that you shared about the crock pot and the Instapot. I know for us over this last year, we ended up, and it was part of a nonprofit Tricky Tray for one of the organizations that, our family supports, that we ended up winning an air fryer. Which was like a new thing for us. And I remember bringing it into the house and my husband saying, we don't need another appliance. This is ridiculous. And it was big. It was a big air fryer actually too. But I have to say, we have utilized it so much. And we've also figured out how to make some of those foods that are not necessarily, traditionally healthy in a healthier way because of it, that we can make our own French fries, we can make our own chicken fingers, we can make our own like mac and cheese bites, or mozzarella sticks, and so it's been an interesting journey, to the point where even my husband has agreed it was a great addition.
Yes, love the air fryer.
Yeah, so I love that you know raised about the crock pot and the Instapot too, because you know that's something that if you are a busy person, you know these things work quick.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
And to the point about the air fryer too, you could do really fun things with vegetables. So we took like green beans, tossed them in a little sesame seed oil, threw them in the air fryer, and the kids were like, this is awesome. Like it just gives that a different consistency, different taste. It's just something new and different for them.
oh, I love that idea. I have to try that one. That one I
Yeah.
haven't tried yet. That's great. That's great. Um, so let me ask you this: what have you done in this situation? You know, with the picky eaters. I know every now and then, you know, my daughter announces that she's a vegetarian now. You know,
I love that.
and you know, we're animal lovers here, so I understand it and I'm supportive, you know, of that. But you know, how do we deal with those changes? You know, that you know
Mhm.
sometimes kids this is their favorite meal, but then all of a sudden they stop eating it one day, like out of nowhere, right? I mean, that's a common a common one with kids.
Yes, yes. And I always try to lean towards, you know, the things they do like. So if like one day they like broccoli, the next day they don't, they like carrots. Looking at ways you using dips and sauces, there's a lot of healthy ones out there, even just like a ranch dressing. Letting them dip it and put it in different sauces and dips so that we're still getting the vegetables, but they might not be getting the full taste of it. Obviously, someone that doesn't like isn't gonna like be into like just plain old broccoli or plain old cauliflower. But a lot of times, if you let them do dips and sauces and make it fun, maybe it's multiple, maybe you have a little buffet of sauces, getting them to try and dip different vegetables, depending on their age. That could be another fun way. I also love sneaking vegetables in. So big
Huh?
fan of mashed cauliflower, which if you add a little bit of, you know, fat-free sour cream and some butter, it can taste just like mashed potatoes. Build your own pizzas, build in, you know, chop up some vegetables in the sauce so maybe they don't see it. I know a lot of times visually they're like, I see the carrot or I see the my daughter's still tomato and onion. It like sets her off. But trying to hide it and really chop it up and get, I mean, they're still getting the vitamins in there. They don't have to eat plain old, you know, raw or cooked vegetables. You could sneak it in there in different ways.
And avocado is one of those vegetables, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little. What do you know about the sneaky avocado? Because I know I'm always seeing different recipes. How you can even put them in brownies, and you know, totally different things that you would never think of.
Yes, I've actually just saw and I highly recommend Pinterest for any kind of like fun different recipes. There's avocado mousse, there's avocado chocolate pudding. I mean, taking that and making it a base, now you have a vegetable for dessert, like which is unheard of.
Yes, yes. I actually was just this weekend. One of the kind of, I guess, health influencers that I follow was just talking about how she's now using the liquid from chickpeas as a base for making chocolate chip cookies. And something else that she made it with, which is totally surprising. And she said that it's like indistinguishable, you know, when you're eating the cookies to know that's it's not from applesauce, it's not from bananas, like a lot, you know, but it's like from this, so it's very high protein.
Yes, I love that. I have a couple recipes that use chickpeas as the base. It's like edible cookie dough, and there's no raw egg, no, you know, you can eat it or freeze it and you can use it as ice cream or bake it and have it as a cookie. But yeah, chickpeas as a base is a wonderful way to get that the vitamins, the vegetables, the fiber in there.
And so you mentioned it earlier, and so for a lot of you know anyone who is worrying about carbs, right? You know, so maybe you're trying to get all these things into your kids, right? You know, from that perspective, and I too, like you mentioned, I'm wired to have the plate have all these three things on it every single night, or you're a failure. You know, because that's what you know was put into my mind. But you know, how do you manage that for them, but then differently for, let's say, the adults if they're, you know, either have, you know, health requirements, you know, because of dietary requirements, because of health issues, or whether it's
Mhm.
just, you know, trying to just keep things at bay.
Yeah, so I try to always look for alternatives. So again, with regular rice, you have the cauliflower rice, mashed potatoes, you have the mashed cauliflower. There's also for pasta, there's something called pastability, which is basically hearts of palm that's turned into spaghetti, which just takes on the flavor of whatever sauce you put on it, and it's great. And you can get it on Amazon. That's a great alternative. There's also something called shirataki noodles, and the noodles are translucent. They're just fiber, like a whole bag of shirataki rice is like 3 grams of carbs, 30 calories. Again, you get those on Amazon. That's a great way to kind of, if everybody else is having something that has, teriyaki sauce or spaghetti sauce, you could use that, mix it in, and the taste just takes on whatever you add to it.
Yeah, it's funny. A few months ago, I started using palmini noodles.
Yeah, palmini. Yes, it's the same as like the possibility. Mm-hmm.
And they really, you are 100% right. It really does. I mean, it's somewhat of a different texture for sure, but you're right. It takes on the sauce, and also like the cauliflower pizza crust or the cauliflower rounds.
Yes.
So that if you're eating like a hamburger and you put like that roll on, it's definitely a game changer, from that perspective. And, some of these things are things that the kids will like too, but it definitely helps if you're trying to eat with them so that they don't, you don't want to create them always thinking that you're worrying about your weight or worrying about that body image piece. So I love that. Lots of great options. Well, we sure have covered a lot in terms of some healthy habits. What other tricks or tips do you have as we're kind of getting to the close of our time together, Allison?
Sure. So one thing I always have people do, typically my clients, is download the free app, MyFitnessPal, and just track your food. Just don't change anything. Just track your food. And then look at it to see, because what it does is it gives you the breakdown of calories, protein, carbs, fat, fiber, sugar. It tracks all of that. And it really opens your eyes to what am I eating? Am I really high carb? Am I really high fat? Do I get enough protein? Most people don't. So that's what I would say to people. And what's interesting is, so my kids are teenagers. I have a 14-year-old daughter and a 17-year-old son. They're actually now interested. Well, like, what's in Doritos, or what's in, different foods that they might eat. And I might say, oh, that's not really a great choice. Well, why? And then they'll look at and they're like, oh, this has a lot of fat in it. So it's an education in what you're eating. Because a lot of times with different, diets, it's not about what you're eating. It's just, stay within this many points or eat a lot of fat and protein. It's really important to have that holistic picture of what you're eating and how that impacts your body. That's
great. And then maybe one last question for you, because I know, you mentioned having fruit as kind of the sweet snack. So how do you balance the sugar, in with the kids? Because I know that's a big love for a lot of them,
Yeah, trying to move them towards fruit-based, like desserts and snacks, picking low sugar options. It's interesting. My daughter just discovered some candy that it's the sugar that's used in it is plant-based. So it has like half the sugar of regular candy. So I think it's fascinating that now she's tried to look at that stuff. But looking at, making homemade ice cream out of like bananas and different things. There's, like I said, so many different options nowadays than we used to have. The chocolate covered frozen fruit, adding fruit into like yogurt for breakfast, just looking at ways to incorporate it instead of the candy and the artificial sweeteners. I think it's really important to get those whole fruits in.
And the key for the busy parents in trying to manage all this is planning, right?
Yes. I always say either plan to fail or fail to plan. If you have a game plan and you have like a strategy, it will make life so much easier, whether, obviously with meal prepping, with your family's, health. And then once you nail down dinner, because like I said, I feel like dinner is the most stressful, then you start adding in, lunch and breakfast. And a lot of those meals, people typically have the same thing day in and day out. But I think once you nail dinner and think outside the box, there's breakfast for dinner, there's, you have soup and a sandwich for dinner. I feel like a lot of times people get into, I have to cook and it has to be 3 things. There's a leftover buffet you could have. So I feel like don't stress about dinner, but once you nail dinner, the rest will be much easier.
From there. Well, thank you so much, Allison, for so many great tips. And for our viewers, a few notes here. Allison gave you some great ideas. We encourage you to share those ideas with people in your life. It's really easy to share YWTV by just sending the link to someone in your life you think that would really benefit from this conversation. And everyone can benefit from this particular conversation. There is no doubt. Even if you don't have kids in your house, there's, we just heard some great ways to plan and to think about, how to lead a healthier food lifestyle without necessarily giving up any of the yummy parts of food.
For sure.
So you don't have to feel deprived at all. And as we said, you can spend more time with Allison by listening to her podcast and connect with her on her social media pages and on her website. And we're so grateful that you could spend this time with us, Allison, and help us start the week. Now I'm thinking about dinner.
There you go.
And thinking about how we can, be very engaged and focused on a good plan for the week.
Awesome.
So,
well, Helen, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm so glad, and I look forward to talking to you again. These are ongoing conversations for sure, not one-offs. We always have to be talking about ways to stay healthy and to keep our mind and body energized so that we can do all the activism that the YWCA wants you to be engaged in. You need energy to do that for sure.
Yes.
And for those of you that are with us for the week, we look forward to you joining us on Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. I'm so grateful to have with us the two organizers of the Anti-Asian Hate Rally that happened in Tenafly a little over a week ago. They had 800 people come together. It was the first rally in our area. It got such a wonderful outreach of support. And, these two women who organized it are not, typically social activists. They are just two women who had a lived experience that they, wanted to rally support around for their community. And I'm really looking forward to hearing about how they pulled it together, what the outcome was of the event, and what's next for them and for the group that they pulled together. And this is a conversation that we will continue to be having throughout our days. As you know, our mission at the YWCA is focused on eliminating racism and empowering women. And all racism is what we are looking to put an end to. So we will definitely be putting a lot of focus on our Asian American and Pacific Island community over the next month of April, which is our Stand Against Racism at the YWCA, because they need our support right now. And we as a community need to rally around them. And on Thursday, that's our Share the Mic Now. We turn over our YWTV platform to Black women in our community to amplify their voices. So we hope that you can join us there. We'll have another great conversation for you. And on Friday, listen, we need to raise our young women to be money management smart. And on 11 a.m. on Friday, we'll have Miss Be Helpful on who is Yanli, and she'll be talking to us about money management for kids and how, tips and tricks to how to get them thinking about this at a young age. So by the time they're adults, that it's second nature for them. And we have a wonderful event scheduled in April, on April 7th, for our Gen on the Go, which is our Girls Empowerment Network, called Money Matters. And it's from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. for 15-year-old girls and up. And it's free of charge. We encourage you to sign up for that. We'll have the link here in the comments, but it's a great opportunity for you to spend more time with Yanli Espinal, who will be with me on YWTV on Friday, and be helping our young women learn how to budget, save, and build good credit, all before they ever get to adulthood. Isn't that something we all need for sure? And we encourage any of you to join us. On Wednesday evening is the final event of our Women's Leadership Conference series that we've been doing over the month of March for Women's History Month. A little bit different this year since we went virtual, but this is the culmination of all these great, amazing conversations and inspirational conversations we've had over the month of March. We're bringing now together all the key topics that were raised in those weekly conversations that we've been having, and having a virtual networking event where we'll be talking more about them. So please, block that time in your calendar, a little bit of me time, as we say, and join us for that conversation. And just two more programs I want to call out for all of you. For any BIPOC women entrepreneurs that are watching or that are in your life that please connect them to join us to be part of our new program that is a partnership with Eureka Biz. And it's an opportunity for BIPOC women who are either considering launching a small business or have launched a small business to help support the growth. They'll have access, and everyone who joins this group, free of charge. And this is a partnership that we have through Coca-Cola also that funded this effort. have access to professional coaches, mentors, an entire community of entrepreneurs to be able to support you in your effort of creating a successful business. So you can get an application and join here for that. And finally, we are committed to helping the women in our community really embrace their voices and find ways to be able to share that. And so our journaling workshop has been a tremendous success. And we have another week of that happening, of our Your Story workshop that Rachel Brenner, a wonderful, talented volunteer, has been bringing each week a different theme to help access to your authentic voice through writing. So please consider joining for that. Again, all of these programs are free of charge. The YWCA is here, and we're all about supporting and providing you resources to be your best self, and to help support equality for women, for girls, and of course racial equality as well. So with that, you know how to eat well so that you're energized to take it all on, because Allison has gotten us in the mindset for that. So you guys remember her tips. Start planning. Interview your family, get what they like, put together your menu for the week, put it up there. You have your shopping done, you have your meals done. Then you can focus on other things and not be stressing about that throughout your day, in your mind breaks. And connect with Allison so you can learn more ways to be able to stay healthy and well always. So everyone, have a great week. Allison, thank you again so much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good one.